I've got Perth Freight Link. I don't mind who answers them. I imagine it would be infrastructure investment.
Righto.
My pitch. We can kick
Corporate's done. Mr. Secretary.
Aye. We've got the right people at the table for familiar folk up there on Perth Freight Link. All right. Can you just step us through, obviously, the state Supreme Court... The Supreme Court of WA has found that the environmental approvals were issued unlawfully, so that's thrown a pretty big spanner in the state government's timeline on the Perth Freight Link. What impact has that had on your workflow, particularly as regards funding the project?
Senator Rob Pilar, General Manager of the North West Roads branch. That decision of the WA Supreme Court has introduced a delay to the project, delay to delivery of the project. The precise implications and nature of those delays are matters which we're working through with the Western Australian Government.
That's a classic estimates answer. I reckon that should go into tutorials about estimates and how it works. What does it actually mean?
Senator. He's a very good officer.
I didn't imply that he wasn't.
Well, you're making an implication by your comment. So.
All right, we're doing great without your interventions, Mr. Senator Colbeck. What does it actually mean for your workflow? The estimates that I've heard from the state government is that it could push their timelines out by as much as a year. Is that consistent with what your take on the situation is?
That's broadly consistent, Senator.
Could be a year. Okay. Look, previously it stated that funding was relying on the project starting at the beginning of this year. Previously you'd stated that you wouldn't be funding stage 1 unless stage 2 had been identified, but now obviously even stage 1 is in trouble. Does this put Commonwealth funding at risk, or is it just business as usual as far as you're concerned, apart from the delay, I guess?
The Commonwealth funding commitment for the project remains in place, Senator.
All right. Well,
Senator Ludlam, could you just speak up a little?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so there's a delay. You've said you're working through it, but it doesn't materially change your work as far as the Commonwealth is concerned.
Senator, as I mentioned, it will delay the project. We're working with Western Australia to understand the precise implications of that delay, and the broad terms of that delay are potentially up to 12 months delay.
Up to 12 months, okay.
Senator Judy
yes,
Dolby, Acting Deputy Secretary. Can I just note for your information that the teams within the Infrastructure Investment Division each deal with a number of projects for which their workload will change depending on the progress of the projects, and therefore and is an area where those changes do happen and cycle through. So the team manages its workload as you would expect through the changes in those cycles.
Okay. Yep, thank you for that. So I've seen, it's a shame Minister Cormann's not here, but I've seen Senator Cormann in press urging the state government to get on with it so that the Commonwealth can hand the funds over. Do you have an estimated time frame for when you think Commonwealth funding could be forthcoming?
Senator, at this stage, I wouldn't want to project when that might be. As I said, we're working through those details with the Western Australian Government.
All right, let's leave that there. It's good that Senator Colbeck's at the table, because my next questions relate to a batch of questions on notice that you tabled for us late last week. So thank you for those. They don't shed much light on the situation, unfortunately. Last estimates, I asked if you could provide modelling for air quality, for noise, and for truck congestion for residents in the vicinity of the roads surrounding the freight link. And we've got question on notice number 44, which avoided answering. Question on notice 2631 said modelling on the impacts of diesel particulates, air quality and truck congestions on all roads and communities in the vicinity of the PFL has not been done, and I'll quote, that you're aware of. So my question obviously is categorically, has the modelling been done or not? It's curious to hear back that it hasn't been done that you're aware of. You're proposing to hand over more than $1 billion. Have you checked to see if that's right?
I don't have that information.
So would it normally have been done by now? I think it was he's asking for is, would it be done at a later stage?
You have to go to work.
If not, just take it on notice.
Yeah, I'll have to take that on notice, Senator.
Oh, really? That's what happened last time I asked. How come it's so difficult to find out whether any modelling's been done? Otherwise, I'm just basically handballing from estimate session to estimate session, which is not good enough. Has it been done or not?
Senator, the answer to the question, as far as where we're at this stage, is that no, it hasn't been undertaken. Would you like further advice in relation to when it would normally have been undertaken?
That would help, because at least that I guess will give me some indication of where you've been looking.
Then we'll come back with that detail. Okay.
Thanks. What's the Commonwealth guidance for the safe level of diesel particulates? Air quality as regards to diesel particulates for surrounding residents?
I don't have that information, Senator.
We need to probably seek that from the state EPA, Senator.
State EPA? What I would like to know is whether you'll be looking at what is considered safe levels of diesel particulates in the air for human beings, children, pregnant women, older people, and then hopefully that you would be able to tell us that the levels of diesel particulates for this project that the Commonwealth is proposing to fund would be lower than those maximum thresholds. I guess you can see where this is going.
Yes, certainly, Senator. And as I say, I don't think we're in a position at the table to give you the details of the environmental assessments that are taking place or about to take place. But we'll ascertain from the West Australian Government what we can on those matters.
All right. So it's not something that the Commonwealth would do, would it? It would be something that the state would do, and then that would be an input
As
to your
part of
assessment.
their environmental assessment process,
All
Senator, unless it also involved EPBC matters, and then it would also involve Commonwealth assessment, as you were well aware.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And yeah, we can take those questions up with those folks as well. Now, look, there's been a series of front page stories in the West Australian newspaper on the way that the state government is using the excuse of commercial inconfidence as grounds to refuse to answer quite basic questions on large infrastructure projects like this one and a couple of others. Now, the answers that Senator Colbeck tabled for us late last week, I haven't done a count. I probably should have done a word count for the number of times that the phrase commercial inconfidence has been used as an excuse to not provide information. Why are traffic modelling and the impacts of the existing alignment on surrounding suburbs considered commercial inconfidence? Let's start with that one. Question on notice number 2631. Traffic modelling is commercial inconfidence. How does that work?
Senator, this is information from the states. They've undertaken traffic modelling and we consult with them over release of information, and they've indicated to us that traffic modelling, which goes to issues of patronage, is commercial
What a load
inconfidence.
of crap, with the greatest respect. What a load of bollocks. You believe that?
We'll take that interjection just in case Hansard wasn't going to get it.
That's terrible
I don't mean to be disrespectful to you, Mr. Pitter, but that is...
terrible language, Senator Steele.
Senator, I just in response
Go
to
ahead,
Steele,
Mr.
we are not the project proponents. We are reliant. The business case is Western Australia's. That is their primary judgment.
You're proposing to drop
Don't defend
upwards of $2 billion on this thing.
And planning and assessment processes and the business case and implementation are matters for the West Australian Government, Senator.
And the use of and release of their data does come with obviously arrangements and agreements on the use and release of the data. So it's not necessarily our position or situation, but when you're using someone else's data and information, there is a level of trust and respect around its utilisation and release. And I think you would understand that. Whether you like it or not.
Trust and respect in the state government is in very short supply at the moment, Senator Colbeck.
Well, it's not about a particular. Senator. It's not about a particular colour or political party of government. It's about a relationship between two entities and respecting the relationship between the two entities in the use of data. It might be a different political persuasion of government later on, but you still have arrangements and between levels of government about use and release of data, and if you can't have those arrangements, then you're probably not going to have data that's going to flow.
Data isn't flowing, Senator Colbeck. Data is not flowing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here taking up your time.
Well, it might not be flowing to you, but
It's not flowing at all.
But between the two levels of government, it may be flowing. And so the question you're asking is, can you see it?
That's
we've had
remarkable.
a conversation earlier in the day about information that when Senator Rhiannon was here. She was after some information that had been redacted out of a report. The officials had seen the information.
You
So
should table the front page of the West Australian, Scott. That might help the minister, mate.
Maybe
It's
it
just
would.
full of black.
I'm actually not debating the particular issue. I'm debating a principle of relationship
All right.
between governments.
Let's move along. One of the things that you did respond, or not that you, Senator Colbeck, the Minister's office came back with the following. They said there's currently a tender process underway for the project. It's the usual practice not to make this sort of data publicly available. Value for money for the investment will only be achieved if tender has put in their best bids, blah, blah, blah. Now, the tender has now been awarded. So can you confirm for us whether any of the information that has been withheld from public view on the grounds that there was a live tender process afoot, will that now be forthcoming given that the tender has been awarded? It's gone to Leighton's and a consortium of other contractors. Will there be anything now that we know who got the gear?
I think the issue with the delay in the project, Senator, there are options which Western Australia needs to pursue as to whether the tendered project remains valid. That will obviously be dependent on the time frame in which the West Australian Government will require to address the findings of the court and the environmental assessment process. That may mean that WA is unable to continue the current tender price and the contract, therefore may require a new market process. We don't have that information, hence I can't give you an answer in terms of the available information. I think there is just too much uncertainty at this stage as to both the planning approval process, but more importantly, what procurement process would have to flow if there was an extended time frame for the completion of the environmental assessment process.
You might want to pass that advice on to Senator Cormann, because he seems desperate to write the cheque out no matter what, but that's probably more of an editorial
So
question.
is this contingent on the sale of the port?
No, Senator.
And is this to make the potential sale of the port more attractive?
I think you're onto something, Senator Heffernan.
Yeah, you should have been a comma.
I think you're onto something.
And also the drop dead bit is, and I hope we don't do what we did in bloody Darwin, where we're fighting over who owns the South China Seas, but we've said to the mob up there, come on down, you can have the harbour for 99 years. I hope we don't make that mistake with this harbour. And that's a comment you don't have to respond.
I don't think I can respond to any of those.
So just by way of summary, and then I'll happily let the committee move on. Can you just confirm for us that you have used commercial in confidence to refuse answers on the following issues? Modelling on the impact on all of the, or traffic impacts on all of the roads surrounding the Perth freight link. That's question 44.
Yes, sir.
Correct, Senator.
That was commercial in confidence. Impact of increased traffic on roads to local residents. That's commercial in confidence. Just a yes or no will do if you like. We'll chip through these fairly quickly. Modelling on traffic impacts into Cottesloe in the western suburbs. Question 16.
Correct, Senator.
Commercial in confidence. Modelling on the traffic flow and impact to the proposed Perth freight link overall. That one as well, commercial in confidence. Modelling on the impacts to Fremantle, North Fremantle, the connection in and around Stock Road, High Street, Leach Highway and through the Port of Fremantle, question 16. Commercial in confidence. And traffic impacts across the project area in aggregate. Commercial in confidence. Value for money. You replied commercial in confidence on value for money. You people pay taxes. Does this not distress you just a tiny little bit? And the final one, the business case.
Answer these questions. Why are you asking?
I'm looking for confirmation. The business case is commercial in confident as well.
A summary of the business case has been released, Senator, with commercial in confidence parts of it.
Okay.
removed.
Senator Colbeck has said that you just basically, you'll rely, if the state government says they don't want this information disclosed, would you ever contest a state government's assertion that something should remain commercial in confidence, or do you just leave it to them to decide?
Yeah, sure.
Senator, we, in a range of projects, and we discussed with Senator Rhiannon this morning, the WestConnex project, for instance, we certainly do engage with the state governments to ascertain the importance of the material that they redact and don't wish to make publicly available. But we certainly do agree, having been through a number of these tender processes, the importance of some of this traffic information being available, because it goes to the heart of the issue of, particularly where you're looking to tolling regimes,
Available to who, Mr Murdoch?
to the state government in their negotiations for potential tenderers for the
Where do
project.
residents come into this?
Well, they're matters for in first instance, the state government...
No, you're proposing to fund the project, Mr Murdoch. So it's a matter for you.
The Australian government is providing a funding contribution. Responsibility for the planning and delivery of the project rests with the state of Western Australia.
I think you can understand why people are just so pissed off about this thing. So a short time ago, the Senate, I think it was on Thursday, passed a resolution requesting the Auditor-General take a look at the decision-making process behind the funding of this, because it appears to myself and apparently a majority of the Senate that the identical debacle that unfolded around the East-West link in Melbourne, which the Auditor-General, Senator Conroy, mentioned this before, tabled such a critical report of, that we are in the process of making identical mistakes in the case of this project. If that's not true, I think putting some of this information into the public domain might go some way towards assuaging people's concerns.
Hello, Joseph.
What would your view be of an Auditor-General investigation into this project at this time? Would that be something that you would welcome, or something that you would prefer didn't happen?
Well, that's an opinion, Senator, and it's not within the bounds of what the officials are here to provide.
Are you happy to open the books of this thing to the Auditor-General?
Senator, the Auditor-General operates independently under their own statutory provisions. If the Auditor-General decides to undertake any audit or inquiry, we would obviously cooperate fully, as we always do.
Okay. Because all of this could have been avoided by putting some of this information into the public domain in the first place. Thanks, Chair.